Hello and welcome to Fine is a four-letter word. My guest today is Amanda J.P. Brown. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Lori. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, all right. Well, I know right before we started recording, I asked you if I needed to do the entire name of Amanda J.P. Brown. I love it. And you said
Yeah,
yes
yes,
because
absolutely. Because that's kind of one, Amanda Brown is just so out there. It's so common. But JP was really significant for me because it's my middle and my maiden name kind of put together and really allows me to have a little bit more of my own identity.
yeah, I love that because then it's not like this huge long you know, 17 syllable name that you're like it doesn't fit in the boxes on the forms and stuff.
Right.
And you're like, what? But it does give you added personality and differentiates you from all the other Amanda Browns.
Exactly, which is, we're all a little different even if we have the same name.
Yeah, 100%. So, speaking of differentiation, tell me about the values and beliefs that were instilled in you as you were growing up.
Oh, that's like a very open question.
It is.
Yeah, I love it. Let's see. So there's so many different ones, but I think one of the big values was accepting people and their individuality and kind of really wanting to learn about their stories and who they were and really respect people's differences and that we all come to whatever we experience in our life through our journey and we end up where we end up because of what happened to us. And that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with us. So, really, learning about people and their stories was a huge value, and valuing people's experience was something that I was taught. As well as kind of creating your own individuality and really having this amount of creativity in your life, however that shows up, that can be a kind of loaded word for people, but really finding what is creative to you and really being able just to explore and dive into that.
So how was that introduced to you? Like were you put in a whole bunch of different kind of classes, like see what you like
Mm,
and go play?
yeah.
Or was it
Well,
more like open, like free range, go out in the world and find your own thing?
a little bit of both. A little bit of, hey, my dad was a musician and an artist, and my mom, she was a baker and a creator and like a crafter. And, so I have this really vast like experience between my parents, and they were encouraging us to go outside, to try things, to listen to different things. I was exposed to so many types of music. So when people ask me like, well, what kind of music do you like? I'm like, everything. Like it just depends. Like what mood do I have today is what I want to, what do I
Yeah.
listen to? But my mom was really good about introducing us to different music and to different repertoires of things and to practicing things, but also play outside, use your imagination, go explore the world. And then also, when I would be like, show an interest in something, they'd be like, well, try it. And then as soon as I got bored, I was allowed to go to the next thing because I would be like, okay, I want to try this. Okay, yeah, I'm good. Can I try the next thing? And so, but it was always that just go, find out, try it out, see what you like, but never this like you have to stick with it forever. It was more of this try it, see how you like it, then decide. And then you can move to the next thing when you're ready. Um, and so one of that was really one of the ways they explored that creative side. And the other side with stories and about people's experiences, I remember, my dad worked, I believe it was, I can't remember, I should ask him someday, but like at the YMCA or something. And we would get to go with him and learn about these people who stayed there. And sometimes we would have people who come to our house and for dinner, and we would hear their stories. And my mom was really about that too. Growing up, she was a social worker. And so understanding that people go through challenges and then make decisions, and it doesn't take away from their, dignity, or to be treated with dignity and respect as a human. And so really we had this vast understanding of people from a young age, and that people have different experiences, different beliefs and values, and that doesn't mean anyone is better or worse. We're just different, and then how to cultivate conversation around that.
Wow, that is so unusual and so such a gift. And you
Yeah.
probably thought
I,
everybody had that experience until you got older and realized that that was very unusual.
yes, very unusual. Most people don't have that experience. It's one of the things that through my own work of kind of becoming a therapist and working with families and going to trainings, that we think the world is like how we grew up. And so for
Hmm.
me, it was very different. And it doesn't mean there weren't without challenges or without, struggles in my own life, but that core belief of everyone deserves to be treated with respect and dignity, or everybody has a story worth listening to, and understanding somebody else's perspective is so valuable and important in order to bridge gaps and come together as humans. That is like so impactful. And I didn't really understand how unique it was until I got older and people didn't have those same experiences. Even going through college, like I have a bachelor's in psychology and a master's in criminal justice and a master's in social work, all because I'm like, I want to learn it all. And then I kind of weave it together. That's not like typical. People usually go one track and then just follow that. And I'm kind of like, boom, 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 boom.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I think it was the book Dopamine Nation, because I don't think I finished reading it before I had to return it to the library. But I was reading it. I got most of the way through it, all right? I might have finished it. I can't
Hey,
remember.
that's
But
okay. No
the one
judgment.
no, no. The one thing that stood out from it was she was talking about how we have what, 7 billion people in the world? Is it 7 or 8 now? I don't know. Many
Yeah,
billion,
7 or 8.
several billion,
Mm-hmm.
and equal number of world views. So if you have 7 billion, you have
Yep.
7 billion different ways, beliefs and views of the world. Just what you're talking about. But
Yes.
people always
Yep.
think that their way is the way. And that's what
Mm.
causes so much conflict,
Yeah.
communication issues, conflict, all of these like problems come from the whole
Yeah.
idea that we think our way is the right way, and if you're not doing it that way, then it's wrong, and I don't understand where you're coming from, and yeah, all of that.
Yeah, yeah, we can be speaking the same language, like we both speak English, but we're speaking two totally different dialects that do not mesh well. And I noticed that early on when I started to notice my parents have communication issues, and I found myself kind of like mediating between, well,
Mm.
she's saying this, he's saying that. Can't you see that you're both saying the same thing? Because I really picked up on that we do all come with this different language. And it's from macro, our, high cultural things, all the way down to our individual family micro space of our, even our language within ourselves, and those interpersonal communications. And so absolutely, it's what creates a lot of conflict, because it's really hard to shift our narrative and our understanding to someone else's experience without being able to kind of just be open to going, well, tell me more about that, and really remaining without that, what, how we define things of like, well, what do you mean by? And my mom was really good about asking us those questions, which has probably helped me kind of understand that, okay, so that's your definition, but I'm seeing it this way. So tell me more, like, or I see it this way, so I'm interpreting and filtering what you say through my own lens. And that is where a lot of our stuff does come from, the miscommunications and inability, because we think we all define things the same way, but we don't.
Yeah. So as you got older and into the work world, or the world of being an adult, of adulting, um,
Yes, so much
how
fun.
did these beliefs? I know, right? Can I take a nap now?
Oh, I laid down with my dog today. Like he's laying in the sun and like through the Arcadia door, and I just like laid down. I'm like, oh, this is like maybe I should do this more often.
Maybe I'd
Lay
like to
down in
be a
the sun.
dog. Yes.
Yes.
So, all right. So, but now where was my question going? All
The
right.
question
No,
was
how
adulting.
did, yes, as you got into adulting, were these skills and beliefs, how did they serve you or not serve you?
Yeah, so, ooh, two great questions. So I'm going to talk to both of those because one, serving me really helped me understand and look at different perspectives and work and build relationships with people because I was able to really learn how to perspective take. And perspective taking is a skill that we have to learn to cultivate, which means kind of really being aware of our own biases, our own understandings, what we believe, and then being open to hearing someone else's. So one, it really helped me do that. It really helped me when I work with families. It helped me shift between things because I was able to have those varied different experiences in college and graduate school. It also helped open my mind to different perspectives. So when there was one way of thinking and everybody was answering the same because I had a different perspective, a different education, I was able to say, wait, what about this? And so it
Mm,
helped me kind of expand people's thinking and while having my expansion open. So it wasn't where I was so grounded and rooted in this is the way because I had that value, I was able to say, oh, well, show me your way and let me learn that. And because there is more than one way. However, on the other side of that, when you don't have a solid sense of who you are, sometimes that means you're really susceptible to other people's opinions and other ways. So there was sometimes trying to find out, well, who am I in the context of all this other stuff? Was challenging. It was also challenging for me in relationships at times because I was so willing to take on that other person's perspective that I wasn't giving validation and space for my own perspective to be showing up in the relationship, which created a lot of conflict, a lot of resentment and animosity because I'm like, I can see your fucking perspective, but can we look at mine now? And and that was really hard. And it was also hard for me to have that voice to say that. It wasn't until I would get angry and resentful that then I would be like,
mm.
and really, but it was because I was so good at looking at other people's perspectives, it made it harder for me to understand what mine was. What did I believe at my core? What did I value in a relationship? What did I, without other, what did I believe? And so that has been something that over the past couple of years I've really dove into more, but it required me to kind of give myself more space to do that.
Yeah, for sure. I could see. Yeah, I didn't realize when I asked that question where you were going to go with that, but I get it's really good. How did you get to the place where you were able to give yourself space or realize that you needed to do that?
hmm Um, part of it was through my own work and my journey of understanding I had an experience of substance abuse when I was a kid. When I got in a teen, I had experimented in substance abuse, struggled with it for a while, and I carried a lot of shame around that. And so, because of that shame, I really didn't share a lot about myself or my experience. And I didn't have a real good sense of my value and felt like I had to prove that a lot. So I really looked for external validation in a lot of my relationships, and they led me into some very unhealthy relationships, some
Mm,
very not like my first marriage was extremely toxic, and I kind of focused so much on whatever he wanted, I really didn't show up in the relationship. And so when that relationship ended, I was like, I'm never going to do that again. Like, I compromised so much of who I was that I almost lost the very essence of who I was because
mm-hmm.
I was so rejecting of myself. And then fast forward a couple years, I really didn't go to work. Like, I didn't go to recovery work. I didn't do recovery work. I didn't do therapy after my marriage. I just went to school because school was safe. It was good. That was kind of, my thing. I didn't have any problems. It's kind of
Right,
that
right.
thing. But
Everything's fine here. There's nothing to see.
everything's fine. Right. We're fine. I'm fine. Yep. And so it wasn't until I got into my second marriage and things started playing out differently, subtly, similarly. And then I started doing some of my own work through like a bikini competition. I wanted to improve my body. So this is like some friends had did it. I thought, oh, this would be fun. And the coach that I got was really a mindset fitness business coach. And so it was a really unique, eclectic combination of an individual, which is something that I love, the uniqueness of people bringing things together. Um, so I did that and I started finally doing my work and my journey through um, accepting who I was, accepting my story, owning parts of my story that I had been silent about. And so it started kind of there, that piece, and really kind of figuring out what did I need to be comfortable and confident and okay with who I am. That not just like I'm fine as a way to say, don't fucking talk to me because I might crumble, to like, no, I'm really okay with who I am and I love who I am and accept her. And so I started that journey, and it really wasn't until even after my second divorce that I was like, I am moving away from everyone I know to give myself this. I just felt this need to be by the ocean, to be away from people that I knew because I felt heavily influenced by all the noise. And I needed the space to like open up and breathe without the extra stuff, to just
Yeah.
kind of feel through it.
And I would imagine to allow yourself to explore who you were as this person that nobody knew. Like you were in a place where
Yes.
nobody had anything attached to who you used to be. So now you could
Yep.
be whoever you wanted to be and grow into who you were becoming.
Yeah. Yes, that's absolutely what it was. And nobody had expectations of me. Nobody had any, like you like this. It really made it easier to go, what do I like to do? I
Hmm.
can do anything. What do I like to do? To be like, okay, you like to do this, because in my last relationship, there was so many, I had still given up so much of like, okay, you want to do this, okay, we'll go do that. And there was this, I knew that I wanted, like, example, the ballet. Like I knew I liked it, but I never in a heartbeat would have ever asked my ex-husband to do that because I knew he would never go.
Hmm.
Because there were other things that I would say, oh, I want to do that. And he's like, yeah, I don't want to do that. And so it became this contentious thing of in our relationship, we go do all the things he wanted to do. And because I didn't really ever have this sense of these are the things that I love to do, and I want to make sure that we're engaging as a couple, or I engage individually and you support this. When I started to have that, that was part of the stress and the problems, because that was starting. So yeah, now I get to just be, I get to explore, I get to play, I get to have fun, I get to discover. And then as I get into relationships with people, I get to show them who I am, which is a very different thing than any of the others. I'm very much looking at it and asking questions of, do I like spending my time with this person? Do I like doing these
Yeah.
things with this person? Do I like trying this food? Versus like, I hope they like me. And so I'm going to
Right.
try all these things to get that acceptance, where it's like, no, I'm really happy and accepting of who I am. So now how does this person feel to me?
Yeah, that's so interesting. As you're saying this, I'm in my head going through. I was working with a student mentee, and
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about, she was interviewing for grad school. And I was
Oh,
talking to
yeah.
her about, we were going over some of the questions that she could ask in that process. And I
Mm-hmm.
said to her, you're interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you. Don't let them have all the power. You have
Absolutely.
questions too. You want to figure out if their campus or their program is a good fit for you, just as much as they're
Yeah.
trying to figure out whether you are a good, whether they should admit you or whatever. And so it's like that same process. We think about it
Yeah.
in terms of interviewing for jobs or grad school or that
Hmm.
kind of thing. But what
Hmm.
about just in life, like you just said? Like you don't have to be
Yeah.
friends with everybody just because they
Mm-mm.
start talking to you or get into a relationship with somebody just because, they like you doesn't mean you have to like them. Like,
Right. Yeah. It's, and to really see, is this a good fit for me? How do I feel in this? Like, I love that because we do talk about it. I think it's more talked about now. I love that you did that with her in grad school because I didn't know that when I went to grad
I
school. I
didn't
just was like,
either. I mean, I
oh,
didn't go to grad
this,
school, but it just in college and in like interviewing for
yeah.
the first few jobs, even like I didn't know. I felt like I was this big, and they're like they have all the power.
Yeah, exactly. In that power dynamic. So yeah, it's really taking that back and going, no, I have just as much right to decide if I want to be
Hmm.
here, if I want to be in this, if this works for me, and really knowing what. So before we can do that, we need to know what does work for me. What
Hmm.
do I need? And I think those questions are so important for us to discover for ourselves as we become adults, and we really don't know those early on. So we're jumping into careers, into relationships so early. I work with a
Yeah.
lot of people who are going through a divorce, and many of them met their partners in high school or college, and
Yeah.
they were so young and they didn't have these models and didn't really know. And so now, 10, 20 years later, they're going through this redefining and rediscovering of who they are that is shifting their relationships often drastically. And it's it's hard because we go back and we go, oh man, if I only would have known, or I can't believe I didn't. And it's like we don't know what we don't know until we know it.
Right.
And
Right.
so we got to let go of the judgment.
Yeah, and have grace with yourself because and I remember my mom
Absolutely.
saying to both my brother and to me like she was recommending that we not get married before we were 30. Okay, so
Mm,
I kind of
that's
followed that,
unusual.
but I met my husband when I was 23. So, okay, so we didn't get married, but we were still together because you don't know who you are. Like she was 22 when
Yeah.
my parents got married. They were 22
Hmm.
years old. How do you don't know who you are. And then
No.
even though I waited until I was almost 30, 25 years down the road from that, I'm looking at it going, okay, but now I'm a different person than I was then. So even if I knew who I
Yeah.
was then, I'm not that person now. And now that's why we're not
Hmm.
together anymore.
Yeah. Totally. I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. You never leave or break up or end a friendship with the same person you started that with.
Yeah.
You're not the same and they're not the same. Even as many times as people will say I'm the same. No, we've changed. It's not the same. We've discovered more things about ourselves, about each other, about the relationship. We're constantly becoming
Yeah.
something because of our experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unavoidable. No matter how
Hmm.
much you don't want to change, you can't not.
Right.
You can't not.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Again, I'm
No.
thinking,
Yeah.
yeah, every time we're like talking and like all these thoughts are going through my head. I'm like, well, one of my favorite artists, Pink, came out with a new
Mm.
album a few months ago, and she
Yeah.
was doing a ton of media touring, of course, to promote.
Hmm.
And one thing she said in every interview I listened to was, "I'm never not grateful." So it just is reminding
Mm.
we're never not
Yeah.
changing. I'm never not grateful. I
Yeah.
love that she is so grateful and that she said that.
Hmm.
But yes,
Yeah.
we're never
She's
not
fabulous.
changing. She is. I'm
Yeah.
going to see her in her first US show in is in Cincinnati in July, and I have tickets for
That's
that.
so
So I'm super
exciting.
excited. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Have you ever seen her? We're going off on a
No, not
tangent.
live.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
no. Yeah, no, I would love to. I mean, I've seen like her video, like, on
mhm.
HBO or whatever, one of those specials, but never live. But it would
Oh,
be, I'm
wow.
sure,
Okay, if you can
fabulous.
get tickets for this summer fall tour, I highly recommend.
Okay.
I saw her 5 years ago at it, and best show ever because it is a show.
Nice.
It
I'm
is,
gonna see.
yes. Yeah. All
Awesome.
right. So back to what we were talking about. You, in our pre show interview, talked about
Hmm.
a moment, your what the fuck moment, when you
Mm.
said, I can't believe this can't be my life.
Yeah, this can't be my life. I do remember that moment in my yeah, it was when my first marriage was kind of coming apart. And I mean, at least I think that's what that moment was. I've had
I
a
think
couple
I
of
think
those
yes, that
moments.
I have another note here that says unhappy in relationships.
Yeah, it was. It was, there was a lot happening. I'd been married almost 5 years at that point. I'd met this person right after a serious breakup with somebody who I thought I would spend the rest of my life with and was in love with, and he broke my heart. And um, I ended it, but my heart was broken and it was bruised and it was not healed. And I was like, I want everything different. I want
Mm.
nothing like him. I'm going to get the complete opposite. Um, and in that, I really didn't heed anything um, of myself. I didn't pay attention to things. I didn't even know what to look for half the time. And people who gave me advice, I'm like, what do you know? You're like 40 and you've been married 3 times. You can't possibly know what you're talking about. I look back and go, wow, yeah, that was something.
We have to learn from our
And
own experiences.
we do. And I was that kid. I could not heed somebody else's advice. I needed to experience it. And oftentimes, my mom will tell you, I would be like 6 months later, well, I guess I should have listened to what you said. Because you were right. Um, but we had just split up, and I was walking into this party that they had for me where I worked because I'd been there 5 years. And it was the All American Girl apple pie and ice cream party. This was, this can't, and I was like, this is not, who the fuck is this? Who is this girl? Who is this for? I don't even know her. And it was because I'd taken on so much of my ex husband that I did not show up in the relationship. I compromised. I gave away a lot of my pieces of myself because it was easier to be enmeshed in that relationship and safer to be enmeshed in that with him than it was to assert my independence. But
Mm.
I was like, what the fuck is happening? This can't be my life. This isn't the direction I want to go. I don't want to be in a relationship where I'm not present. And so that was a huge piece for me in that sense of changing the course of um, that relationship, and really like solidified. Like we had split up just shortly before then, and that solidified for me that I could not sustain that relationship, even though I kind of said, well, maybe we'll work it out. I knew in
Hmm.
that moment, fuck that, I'm done. I want to show up. I want to be who I am. I want to be seen. And it still took me several years to figure out how to do that. I mean, that really took a whole nother relationship and divorce to really get to the place to show up and be living in a space that is my own, that is, I can understand who I am.
Yeah, it's so interesting to me that it takes most, I don't know, most. It takes a lot of people so much time to become who we are.
Yeah, it does.
Like a whole
There's
lifetime, it probably.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I know just developmentally, there's so many things that we go through figuring out, discovering, so worried about all kinds of things. And then we hit kind of, there's this magic period that people talk about, especially for women, but men go through it as well. Late 30s, early 40s, there's this real huge developmental shift where we're like, boom, no, fuck that. That's not me. I'm not going to put up with that. And we really do start asserting a little bit more of who we are, little by little by little by little, through that time period, and really kind of feeling more confident. And I think a lot of that is that part of our lifetime is becoming who we are, is feeling more confident in who we are by accepting more of that. And it takes time to figure all of those things out, to test and to let go of and to try and to be like, nope, that didn't feel right. And really that process of going, how does this feel on me? Nope. It's like going with a bunch of clothes to the closet and like trying things on and then walking away with three things.
Right, right. And I would even say, you said late 30s, early 40s. I would say even later, at least from the people that I've been talking to and my personal experiences, was not really until 50.
Yeah, I think it starts sometimes then, but it really doesn't mature and like step into until you get older, because you're just starting to unravel that. But it really does pop out later. Definitely.
Yeah. You might start feeling it, but you're like, no. Again, it's fine. I'm fine. It's all good.
I can do this. Like, I can stay in this space. And then you eventually like, nope, can't do that. Mm-mm.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Well, I mean, this conversation has been so enlightening, just like magic. Thank you.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Yeah, absolutely.
Before we go, the question, because you said you like so many different kinds of music, but I'm gonna pin you down to one song.
You are.
What's the one song that you listen to when you need an extra boost of energy? What's your hype song?
Okay, my hype song. So it comes from when I was a kid still. And it is from one of the movies that I wasn't allowed to watch, but I secretly would try to watch it all the time. And it is from Flashdance, and it is called What a Feeling. And for me, that is, I was just going to tell you who it was by, and it started playing. But
Irene Cara.
Irene Cara, yeah. So for me, that is a huge song because it really is about coming into your own, coming into who you are, and really just embracing what you want to do in your life. And that has been, especially over the past year, like the song that's dropped in for me. But it's been in the background since I was, probably 6 or 7.
Awesome. I love it. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. And then if people want to continue this amazing conversation with you, where is the best place for them to find you?
The best place to find me is on Facebook at Amanda JP Brown, or over at my website, which is also just amandajpbrown.com.
Cool. I'll put links to that in the show notes as well. All the good stuff is there. Amanda JP Brown, thank you so much for joining me today on Fine is a 4-letter word.
Yes, thank you so much. I enjoyed being here. Awesome.